Hello again to everybody out there in the interweb land who is tuning in to another fantastic professional that we've invited to join us today. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Clarissa Constantine. I'm the founder of the Parent-Tween Connection, and I am super excited to have Richard Ramos, who is joining me from Santa Barbara, California. He is the founder of Parents on a Mission, and we're going to have some really intriguing conversations today around boundaries, discipline, those kinds of things. So first things first, good morning, Richard. Glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning. Thanks a lot for having me, Clarissa.
So would you do me a favor? I know you and I chatted very briefly before we went live about your background. Can you give me like the TLDR, or in our day, the Reader's Digest condensed version of how it came to be that you launched Parents on a Mission?
Yeah, well, first of all, I grew up in Northeast Los Angeles, so my background with gangs and drugs and violence and things like that is something that I learned to overcome. And so a lot of that is the reason why I continue to do what I do, because I do believe that the family is the key. If I was raised by a single mother, and because of her, I give her all the credit that I was able to escape that life, although I did delve in it for a little while. But early in the 90s, 1990, I believe, I was hired as an at-risk counselor at a junior high school. I was given 50 of the worst kids in the school, and my job was to try to help them get back on track. Some of them were in gangs, some of them using drugs, dropping out of school, and doing everything that parents don't want them to do. So my job was to try to get them back on the right road. Eventually, I realized I needed to hear from mom and dad and not just what the kids were telling me, and that's when everything changed for me. Once I started doing home visits and saw the dysfunction and the lack of communication, lack of respect, no control, things like that, I realized that if I really wanted to help my students, I needed to help mom and dad. And that's really what how Parents on a Mission was launched.
That's awesome. You know, they say parenting doesn't come with a handbook, right?
And so I'm trying to change that.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's, you and I are on a similar creative path, because that's part of what we're trying to do as well, is going like, hey, how do we support the parents, and how do we educate them? How do we bring in information about things that you just don't know about, right? There's so much, even without what we're going to be talking about today, the technology and the digital influence, there's so much just about being a parent that you don't know. It's not like they give you the book when you have the kid, you know? And so I love having folks like you and collaborating with folks like you, because we can share insights and reach a broader audience to be like, hey, if you walk away with one nugget, then it was worth the 20 or so minutes you were able to join us. So today we are talking about reclaiming parental influence in the digital age. And you know what? Like I said, if we take away the digital age, right? Take away back when we were kids, we didn't have cell phones and the social media and all the things that the kids today have. But I guarantee you, our parents still said, my kid doesn't listen to me, right? Like when they were teenagers. The fact is, they do pay attention. And I think there's a difference. They listen. They don't necessarily obey.
That's right.
But they listen and they watch. And I think that's where parents have a disconnect in how they evaluate listening, right? But so then we add in digital and kaplooey.
Well, that's right. I mean, I believe that is probably, if not the most important issue for parents to pay attention to. It is one of the top 2 or 3. That we can talk about those other things maybe later. But social media, there's no doubt about it, it has changed the world as we know it. As you said, when you and I went home, there was maybe one phone, one TV, and with 3 channels and a radio maybe. And when you came home, you were home, and you didn't have access to the rest of your friends unless you were in the neighborhood or something. So definitely it is a huge influence. And what I tell parents today, you need to understand that you are in a daily battle, or some call it a war, for the heart, the mind, and the loyalty, the choice of loyalty. Who is going to win that battle, mom and dad? That's my message. If you don't understand that you are in a daily battle because of the 24/7, 365 access to global people and influencers, you're not even in the game. And my message to mom and dad is you need to get in the game and not take the loyalty of your children for granted.
So how do we get in that game? I say we, meaning not just the parents, because like I'm actually not a parent, but I've got young adults in my life, like nieces, nephews, my friends' kids and whatnot, that I'm still an adult influence in their lives. How do I get in that game too?
Yeah, I think one of the things we encourage parents and parents on a mission is that they need to have planned activities that are not about screen time. But if you don't plan it, it's not going to happen. So easy things like having dinner together with no phone, no TV, no music, no nothing, just conversation, eye to eye contact. It doesn't have to be hours. It could be for, however long it takes to have a meal together. I understand the day and age that we live in. Some families can't have a sit down dinner every night, but there's got to be at least 1 or 2 days, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night, a Saturday afternoon, where we planned to have an activity where there's conversation just between mom and dad and his brother, dad and sister, all of those dynamics. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we as parents should role model that we are not addicted to our screens. I call it the heads down generation. You go, whether you're going walking to the market, you're at the bus stop, you're on a train, on an airplane, at a restaurant, everybody's got their head down looking at people sitting in the restaurant together at the table, families looking at their screen. So I encourage parents, we have to set the standard that we know how to put it away and not be on it as much as, maybe whatever. I don't want to, whatever people want to think is healthy, that's up to you. But what my message is, mom and dad, maybe we need to put the phone down as well as asking our kids to do the same. So those are just a couple of things that we can do to be involved with our children, to connect with them. Instead, I always say connection before correction. That's the key.
Sure. Because the correction will go farther if the connection is there. And
That's
if they trust that connection, and they trust that, hey, when I offer a correction, I'm offering it because I care about you and I want what's best for you, or I want you to be healthy, happy, productive, successful, whatever it is. They know that you have their interest in mind. So then, I know one of the points that you talk a lot about, and man, I think, where were you 30 years ago when I was a teenager and my mom might have gleaned some benefit. How do you balance authority with effective discipline? How do you define those as two different things? Because I think a lot of people see them as the same, but then how do you balance them?
Well, first of all, parents, we need to understand that our respect for our authority needs to be earned, not demanded. And that's a mistake a lot of parents make. We have to earn it. We have to win it. If I want my son or daughter to respect that I am the authority in their life, they're under my roof, I'm raising them, I'm feeding them, I'm clothing them, I'm helping them, I'm encouraging them, etc. But I do have authority as their parent. But demanding it, bullying them, bribing them, that doesn't last very long. But if we have that relationship and connect, and we are role models, that we do what we say, we keep our word and things like that, then they respect our authority because they know they can count on us to be who we say we are and to do what we say we're going to do. And when we fail, we own it, we admit it, we apologize, and that goes a long way in earning our respect for our authority. Discipline, unfortunately, to my opinion, is confused with punishment. Punishment and discipline are not the same thing. Punishment is simply you just want to give a penalty for what your child did. You're not concerned about whether they learn anything. You just want them to be penalized and punished. Discipline is about teaching. It's about learning. And so that requires a different mindset in thinking, okay, how am I going to use this situation to teach my child a life lesson versus just punishing them and leaving it there at that?
So let's take an example, because I like your distinction there, and I think we can hammer it home with an example. Let's say we have a kiddo who, I don't know, mom or dad sets an 11 o'clock curfew, and they come strolling through the front door at 12:30. Mm-hmm. Punishment versus discipline. What do those look like in a real life situation?
Well, I have a blended family of 8 children. and I have 11 grandchildren and 4 great grandchildren, so I have a lot of experience with that. Obviously, there has to be consequences, but uh, the mistake parents make is a lot of times they go instead of, let's use the alphabet, they go from A to Z really quickly. And the harshest punishment, you're grounded for 3 weeks or a month or whatever. Well, obviously that doesn't last long, and there's probably a more mitigated consequence that you could start maybe at C or D, so you still have E, F, and G, and on down the line. If you go all the way to Z with your discipline or punishment, then you're not left with much to do after that, especially if they don't listen. So that's one thing. But what I would do is warn them and say, no, we talked about this, and you want me to trust you, and I gave you a curfew. I'm wanting to trust you to allow you to go to the party or whatever it was, but you violated what I asked you to do. Do we agree? So now we're having a dialogue. Explain to me. I want to hear from you, your side, what happened, but that cannot continue to happen. And so whatever consequence, in that first incident, I'm not giving a consequence. I'm just having a conversation. The second time, I might have after the first conversation, I'm going to say something like, okay, now look I'm not telling you can't go out, but the next time this happens, this is probably what I'm going to do. And I'll let them know like the consequence is going to be. And then if it happens again, I'm going to stick to my word. And then you just kind of go along that road, and hopefully whatever discipline or consequence I'm giving them, they're going to learn, like, what, my dad is trying to trust me. I want that relationship. I don't want my dad not to trust me, and that's what I've done. It doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes there's an argument. Sometimes there's anger. I can't say it always went smoothly, and I can't say it always worked immediately, but it did work over time.
So it's interesting to me to hear you say, like, the first time they do it, I might not implement a consequence, because I imagine, like, I hear parents in my head going, what? You're not going to do something immediately. And so in my brain, I'm going, that's what you might define as punishment, of like taking a hard line right from the beginning, like, or as you put it, A to Z, as opposed to, all right, that was like one strike. Your first strike, not a problem. Second strike, there's going to be a problem.
Correct. Yeah, and I think, again, we're trying to earn respect for our authority. Well, what is the purpose of authority? The purpose of authority is not punishment and power over people. It's to provide liberty, and to provide guidance, and to provide opportunity, and to provide instruction. That's the purpose of authority. And I want my child to understand, without saying it, I do know more than you, and I've been through life, and I'm trying to help you with that, and hopefully I can demonstrate the wisdom without beating them over the head with it, and just, being a hardline authoritarian. We teach authoritative parenting, not authoritarian or permissive parenting.
Got it. So how early does this authoritative approach start making a difference? Because I mean, certainly we're talking, you were talking about, like, you were a support in a junior high school. So we're talking like 10 to 13-year-olds ish, right? 11 to 13-year-olds. But my instinct is that you're going to say that what we do earlier makes an impact. How early do you encourage parents to start with this kind of a mindset?
Well, as soon as the child is old enough to understand that they can defy us, and that usually starts around 2 years old. But the way you're going to discipline a 2-year-old, we all, unfortunately, it's called terrible twos. But if you're a parent, you know what I mean. When your children are infants, up until those first 2 years, they're just innocent. But they get to that age where now I have to go from a nurturer, I call it the gardener of the soul, infant to 2. But when they get to that 2, 3, 4, 5, now they're challenging your authority. And that's where we have to start to teach them that, no, the world does not revolve around you. We're going to work this, and again, you can't reason, in my opinion. I don't reason with a 2 and 3-year-old, but I am demonstrating to them that I still am nurturing you, but I'm also teaching you that there are boundaries to what you can and cannot do, say and cannot say, etc.
And man, that age range, from what I've seen of the friends that I have who have had children, they are absolutely feral somewhere along there. So, okay, so, that's good news for parents of kids that young, that, hey, it matters. Like, identify those boundaries, hold those lines now, because my instinct is that you're going to say that that's where you start earning that trust or their trust for your authority.
That's correct. And it's really important. Let me just, I teach very quickly. I teach teaching, one of the most important teaching in Parents on a Mission. I call it the home field advantage. And I learned this by researching that when children kind of start to really go in the wrong direction is from 12 to 15 years old. So I said, okay, that gives me a clue. If I know that, that means I have from 0 or infant to 12 to prepare my children for those times. So I just want to emphasize how important their security, their worth, their self-worth, their emotional security and emotional stability is nurtured day one when they come out of even before they leave the womb. I give a whole teaching on that, but I just want to say that is the backdrop to when you start disciplining children. They already know, and you continue to do the nurturing and giving them the self-worth and all of those kinds of things. Those two have to go hand in hand.
So then, to round out our conversation, one of the points that you make is about parenting by leading with unconditional love.
That's right. That's right.
Talk to me.
Yeah, that is the key. I mean, unconditional love, it's not based on performance. It's not, my love is unconditional. I'm not, if you get an A, if you do your chores, if you please me in some way at church or in school, then I will love you, so to speak. No, unconditional love. I love you anyway. I'm just not reacting or responding to what you're doing. It's not you. It's what you're doing. I love you and will never stop loving you, but I will not accept that kind of language. I will not accept that kind of behavior. I won't accept you disrespecting your mother that way. It has nothing to do with my love for you. And that message has to constantly be reinforced, because a child or anybody can interpret discipline or correction as, oh, you don't like me. No. I love you, and that's why I'm correcting you, because I don't want you to continue down that road. So yeah, unconditional love is I mean, it is vital.
So can you give us some examples of how parents may demonstrate that? Because it's really easy to be like, yay, rah, rah, you made the touchdown, you got the A, you got first chair in the band, whatever, like all the accomplishments. Well, how do we bring in the rest?
Yeah, we don't only have to praise our children for the accomplishment. We can praise them for the effort. We can praise them for sticking in there, for not quitting. And maybe you didn't make the team. Maybe you didn't win the award. Maybe you didn't get the grade you wanted, but you were disciplined. You tried. I saw your effort. I helped you. And so, they can see that it doesn't matter. The outcome may or may not be exactly what we wanted, but I just love you anyway, regardless of that. And so there's all kinds of opportunities, especially when our children fail, especially when they make a mistake, especially when they do something that, we don't want them to do, but we can still show them, but that's what you did. It's not you. I love you, but we're going to deal with this. So I think, there's all kinds of opportunities all the time. It doesn't only have to be shown unconditional love when children do something wrong. It could be shown to them, how about praising them when it's not their birthday or not Christmas or not some expected time when we're going to go out of our way. And Dad, why are you doing this for me? Why are you taking me to the show? Why are you dating me? Why are you doing something special for me? It's not my birthday. It's not Christmas. It's not some event. No, it's because I love you and I want to be connected with you and I want to know you to know how important you are to me. things like that.
Well, and then that circles back to what you were saying about taking that time, being intentional about that time with the people that you love, whether it's your kids, your spouse, your grandkids, your great grandkids, right?
Right.
Really just taking that time and not letting the distractions show up.
That's
okay,
right.
So the final question that I typically ask our guests, everything that we do at Parent Tween Connection is based on what I call the foundations of connection, where I was like, why is it that oftentimes kids will talk to me or someone like me, a mentor, a coach, a tutor, somebody who isn't mom or dad?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that they will often be more comfortable talking to somebody like us outside the nuclear family before, or possibly be like they're never ready to talk to their nuclear family about it? And so the letters of connection all spell out, it's an acronym, so it spells out a concept. So I'm going to just volley these to you really quickly, and I want to know which one kind of like pops most for you. Okay. So it's, again, in order of connection, it's create a safe space, observe, meaning eyes, not mouth necessarily, non-judgment, nod and smile, again, zip it. E is either explore or educate. Then we have challenge your truths, innovate. I lost one. Challenge your truths, take your time is the T. Then innovate, own your own story, like your own background, and then nurture. Do any of those, or which one kind of just like jumps up and says, me?
Explore and educate. If my kids see that I am curious and not judging them for what they're on social media about, why are you so excited about TikTok? Tell me about what it is that, gets you excited with that. Help me understand, what it is that you're watching or reading, or what does that program mean to you? I want, as a parent, to remain curious and to show my children I'm curious about what you're interested in. To me, and then the process of education is a dialogue, as Socrates taught us. And I think that stuck out to me.
That's awesome. All right. So, Richard, if people want to find out more about Parents on a Mission, find out about your programs, I know you said that you do a lot in work, a lot of work with schools, a lot of works in prisons and jails and with nonprofits. But if they want to find out more about you and your approach and Parents on a Mission, where do they go?
Yeah, the best place is my website, Richard R. Don't forget my middle initial, because a lot of people put Richard Ramos. It's richardrramos.com. All my books are there. My programs are there. Resources, some free resources, some videos are there. If you like to read, my books are there, but you can also get them on Amazon. And the last book I just wrote, I want to mention, is The Art of Step Parenting, How to Blend Families Without Tearing Them Apart. Because my whole parenting experience, I've been a step parent. I have a blended family of 8 children. And today in America, the blended family is no longer on the margins. It's part of the normal life in the American culture.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. So we're going to round out this conversation, and then Richard and I are going to pop over into Parent Tween Village. If you don't know about Parent Tween Village, it is our private community for parents who want to dive deeper with our guests and be in community and connection with each other. And we are going to be talking more about how to set those boundaries without breaking bonds. So we're going to dive more into discipline and punishment, setting boundaries without power struggles, all those kinds of things that probably apply as early as 2 and 3, right, Richard?
That's right.
Awesome. So if you want more information, pop on over to Parent Tween Connection /Parent Tween Village. And Richard, stand by. We will pop over to Parent Tween Village momentarily. Have a great day, everybody.